So what we're doing right now is we're doing a double. We're doing this with only the upper half staying outside the knee for reference. A D major scale. Now it's your turn. So you need to start with a downstroke. Downstroke is this. Notice how you're really stiff. I call it the pirate. You're doing this right here. Your wrist is stiff. Your elbow is totally stiff. So this tells me that we possibly need to make more of a warm-up on open strings. You also are moving with a crescent and not with a straight bow. No problems. Okay, so let's play some open strings. Without the hand, put the left hand here. 8 strokes. Essentially the scale, just without the fingerings. 8 strokes on those strings. Upper half, outside the knee. And remember, if you need to have a reference, even look at your left elbow. Sometimes I even point to isolate. See the elbow? It's still not moving. Let's try this. We need to isolate all the movement from the elbow down, no shoulder. Right. So let's do this again. I want you to do, and we're going to break it down in bits. I want you to place in the upper half, outside the knee, and do 2 strokes. And if you so need to look on this side, which I am doing, if you need to look at it, but there should be 0 articulation here, and the articulation will happen in the wrists and the elbow. I mean the wrist and the not the wrist and the shoulder. This and this. Okay, another thing is, there we go. It's that heat again. So another thing is we're going to, this is called a pull or a down bow. Pull to the right, push to the left. Pull to the right, push to the left. Okay? And we start always with a pull to the right. So if you need to look at your, remember, outside the knee, because then we want to freeze that shoulder so it doesn't move, only elbow, only wrist. Let's see if you can do that with some open strings. It doesn't seem like you're remaining outside the knee. Can we remain completely outside the knee? Because when we do the remain out completely outside the knee, this is our this is our point of reference. This is our threshold, the outside. So we will not pass over that. If you follow that precisely, this should happen with your arm. Because you have to hold your arm out distance. If you notice, your elbow is outside the knee. And so it's going to stay there. If you pull it in, then it's going to stop. Bring it to a nice place and remain in the upper half of the bow. Index finger. Now your index finger needs to control a little bit more when you're outside here. When you're in full extension, you are controlling with the index finger, pulling that trigger up. And when you relax, it's the same thing. Now you have finally demonstrated the technique. If you look at your shoulder, it's not moving. You are moving from the elbow. As you notice, it needs to be from the elbow and further out. It takes some coordination to build. It does take coordination. No harm, no foul. added we added a complication. Yeah, here we go. Let's get this back. So we added a complication, which was the fingerings. So let's try to do that again and play a lot slower in this. And let's see if we can play the D major scale a lot slower. Attention. So place your finger, look at that elbow, and the moment your shoulder moves out of time and space, we're going to restart the exercise. Whatever it takes. Let's do 4 notes on the D string, 0, 1, 3, 4, the beginning of the D major scale. And remember, let's pause. The first movement is always a pull to the right, known as a down bow. Pull to the right. So that, again, if you look, there is some movement in the shoulder. It needs to be 100% isolation. Try again. The first movement is what? A pull to the right. The first movement is pull to the right. See that? The shoulders moving. Okay, now this is reduced to single notes. Play 2 open Ds, and keep the shoulder completely isolated, moving only from the elbow. Your turn. I saw your shoulder move. Try again. I saw your shoulder move. Try again. You have a wrist. You can use the wrist. Articulate from your wrist as well. Engage your index finger to control the tip. Articulate your wrist. Press the wrist out. You gotta call it breaking the wrist. Use the wrist. Don't use the shoulder. Yes. Now make that movement subtle. Subtle. I'm using just about this much bow. Yeah, let it naturally develop. Now that the bow is falling, you have to engage your fingers to pull the bow up. The tip of the bow up. Now, place a single finger on the D, but repeat the same bow technique.
Do you want me to go on?
Nope, because you've moved from your shoulder. Try to do the movement without, place the finger, we add a complication, wrist and elbow, no shoulder. Nice. You can lift your elbow a little bit higher to give you a better, yes, you can lift it, place it wherever you wish. You can lift it higher, I suggest a high lift. Higher lift of the shoulder, the elbow, yeah. Higher lift, so the shoulders relax, but the elbows, see how high my elbow is? It's as if it's like this, I'm like this. Yes, yes, we are always with our elbows out on cello, always, always, always. We play like this, So, E, good. F sharp. No, you froze up. That was better. Every motion we begin is a pull to the right. That's the primary motion, beginning one. Oh, you got that locked in, 0. And let's rest. I call this cello attention. Cello attention is when your elbow excuse me, when your bow is resting on your knee like this, straight. And it kind of gives you this, you start to get this invisible threshold right here in your cello playing. You start to understand that the area here requires a different technique. In other words, when you're here, we lose our elbow and we use our shoulder. You see that? See the shirt moving? But when we're here, we lose our shoulder, but we gain our elbow. But the whole time we're using our wrist and fingers. Okay?
Totally right. It's just where you're playing in terms of on the bow.
It changes. It is a sliding scale of technique. So there is no, the correct technique changes as you change areas of the bow. The further out you are, the more you're going to use this. And this is why I like to have this technique. Now we're going to do the pepperoni pizza 67, and we're going to play this as such with that technique of upper half. Because it doesn't do you any justice or any good if you play it like this. Because now watch. It's a more advanced technique, what I'm doing with my fingers and wrist, but beginners need to learn how to use their elbow. That's why we start out here with beginners, and that's the most important thing. And it comes from a lot of the violinist plays, I call it the pirate, and it's the same thing as his cello players. I call it the pirate, where you do this with your arm. And then your bow moves, your bow moves in a very crescent motion, and that's antithesis. So we have to eliminate this motion. We have to add wrist, add elbow, and fingers. And then you see it change from this, which you are right now, to this is your goal. Right. And it changes as I'm doing this. The further out, I'm squeezing those fingers, and the further out, I'm relaxing them. See, so there's this movement, and it's a sliding scale, so it changes as you go. So let's try pepperoni pizza and do every set of notes on the upper half. Your turn. Try it again. And remember, the first motion is what?
Down bow.
A pull to the right, a down bow. And it's more accurate to say pull, because we aren't going down and up. We aren't going down and up. We're going left and right, left and right. So pull to the right, push to the left. That's what it is. We're pulling. You get used to the idea that we are always pulling on cello. So pull it out, push it in, down, up. Good. And I believe there is a song, go to 73. It's very similar. It's called Buckeye Salute. All right, so if you haven't done it already, then I'll just play it for you. Yes, and we're doing the whole technique again with the upper half of the bow. It's very similar to the pepperoni pizza, just adding this sort of an ascending set of notes on the bottom. Lift. That's the goal, is to completely isolate from the elbow. Okay? We're going to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Or the alphabet song. That's the beginning. It's 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. And let's always remain in the upper half of the bow. Play those notes. Try it again. Let's do that one more time. And remember, as we get more comfortable with these notes, let's isolate the elbow and freeze the shoulder. And if you ever have wondered why we play songs that are like Twinkle Twinkle or, you know, Au Clair de la Lune, all these songs, it's because you should know them by heart. And these songs, then you can just look down and look at the physicality of playing it, not actually look at a score as such. Okay? So let's try the first notes once again for Twinkle Twinkle or the alphabet song. And the last motion is a down bow as well. When we come to repeating things, there are 5 repetitions. The first repetition is luck. The second repetition is also luck. That's when you succeed. Successful repetitions. The third repetition, nobody cares. The fourth repetition is you got my attention. And then the fifth repetition, okay, you know it. So you just successfully lucked out in creating the first notes. Lucky lady. I know, it's luck. And guess what? The next time you succeed, I'm also going to call it luck.
Okay, let's see.
Very good. Round 3. Good. Remember, the intonation's not the goal. Round 4. And the last round. Now, for this time, we're going to go on. We're going to go back to the D string, remain in the upper half. It's now at push. 4, 4, 3, 3, 1, 1, 0. Once again. Remaining out, crossing back, starting with a push to the right, push to the left. You see how I'm still remaining my bow talon outside the knee? You try it now. Not bad. Try it again. Try it a third time. You'll hear me say this mantra a lot during my lessons, 3 times during lesson, 5 times during practice. So now you know the rule of 5, and one day we'll play a smiley game. You'll understand it's also on one of your scalebook pages. So I'm going to stop here. That doesn't mean you've completed it. It means that we need to save time, so we're not going to go on with that. Now, let's go on with the song. So, I would like for you to stop your bow, click over, remain, continue. Stop the sound of your cello with the bow. It's like stop, you're muting it with your bow hair. And then, as as you notice, the primary first motion was a pull. And then I'll repeat now, it's going to start with a push. But the main phrase begins with a pull. You try it now. Yes. And if you want a reference to this right here, the reference is going to be this right here, the page 15 in your book. Turn back to page 15. And now we're going to play with it, but we're not doing pizzicato. Page 15 is number 43. And there you have "À vous dirai-je, maman?" "À vous dirai-je, maman?" Which means when we say. Now we have page 1543. Let's mark in our bowings. And the bowings are as such. A down bow looks like this. And we're going to put the down bow at the very beginning. We're not going to be doing this pizzicato. So a down bow here. And if you want to mark every single one, you are invited to do so. I'm just going to mark the beginning of them. Yeah?
Okay.
And then the next one is going to start up bow with a push. The next line is going to start with a pull, then push, then pull, then push. That's the minimum notations that you should make. Very good. I'm liking the articulation, using the wrist. We're seeing some improvement in usage of the wrist. Do it again. One more time, last time, 3 times during lesson, 5 times during practice. And let's prioritize the bow. One more time, and I want you to prioritize the bow. In other words, even if the notes are incorrect right here when it comes to your intonation, carry on. The intonation will always flux. It will always improve or not. But your bow technique, it's limited. Once you get the bow technique, it's done. Intonation is something that we labor on, while intonation is something. While bow technique is something we learn. And once you learn the core technique, it's there. Bow control is different. We labor on that. But bow technique of learning this motion with the elbow, it is a task. It is work. And work is something that's linear and it's not repetitive. It's not cyclical like labor. And so let's take this project of learning the technique. And then, of course, the bow control will be something that you're doing in tandem, but the technique of doing this will eventually be learned. One more time, yes? Even if the intonation is incorrect.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt for just a second because
There are different styles of teaching. I find that if I compliment and I tell you on camera, you tend to like, So if I don't compliment you, I do a lot of, try to feel everybody. But if I don't react, that means you did something good.
Okay.
If I just sit here and be like, that's actually the best reaction, is no reaction at all. You did a
Okay.
great job. No.
Okay.
And if I don't do anything and I go on, I don't even recognize anything, that means you did it right. That's the best. We just go on. I don't say anything.
Okay.
Now, if you're the type of person that needs a positive reinforcement throughout, I can do more positive reinforcement. Now, it's a good job and go on. So it just depends. But in general, if I'm like, okay, I don't notice anything and I go on, if I make no commentary, then it's right.
Okay.
So your
Alright.
homework is quite simple. To play this song over and over and over and over again until it's there. And then you're going to play the variation on that, which is going to solve all of your problems. All of them. All the problems will be solved. And there will be world peace. And the oceans will be full of whales and dolphins. There will be birds in the sky. And it's this. We're going to take that little thing right here in Buckeye Salute. Without doing that, you can play Buckeye Salute, you can play Pepperoni Pizza, but it's like this. I've lifted my knee to really show that it's outside of this threshold right here. And this is going to, hello, my baby, hello, my darling. You know, you have this motion right here, your marionette, and this is something, once you learn this technique with your bow, it really helps your tone. And once you start to learn that, then we can add more wrists, sometimes it may touch, and more fingers, and we just carry down the arm until finally we're really talking more about the suppleness of everything. But right now, it's going to, once we get this lifted high, because if you put it low, very important. See, it's too low. Look what's happening. If you see any motion in my sleeve, the technique is not correct enough, or it could be done easier done. Watch. Zero motion. Now I'm going to drop it too low. See the move? And that subtleness, all the subtleness and those nuance in the motion of your bow all equates into good tone, which is the number one priority on cello. Tone is something that you develop and that you prioritize, number one, regardless of anything. And tone is something that you do prior to making a single sound. That's right. I have decided my tone already. You haven't heard it, but I know what it's going to sound like because I'm applying pressure. I have the area. I have the notes. All of these things are ready to go before I even make a sound. Tone is the number one priority in life when it comes to all musicians who play cello. Some instruments, you never have to worry about tone. What is that instrument? The piano. Bing! It's always going to have that beautiful tone. You can care about the volume, but the quality of the sound of a piano is built in. So you don't have to worry about it. You just push the button and it works. Cello, you have to make the string, because there's strings on piano, but cello, you have to make the string, apply the hammer, everything's ready. Whew. And then I'm going to say, and one day you will tell me, cello coach, I have good tone. And you'll be able to make that. If you are not pushing down enough, and it's a little bit, you're not maybe weak here or you're weird here. And this is the thing. Where do you think is the most important in your cello playing? Good intonation or good tone? Well, I'm going to play you a note. This is a G, and it's perfectly in tune, right? This is also a G, and it's perfectly in tune. That's in tune too. There you go. But the tone is terrible. So what do you have a choice in life? If you had a musician with bad intonation but beautiful tone, as opposed to a musician with perfect intonation but terrible tone, I think we know the answer to that. I think we know that. We would rather hear someone sing out of tune but have beautiful voice as opposed to a person that just nails on a chalkboard when they existed. They don't anymore. I don't think so. Yeah, as opposed to the thing. And that if you ever wonder about, is there a song written by a famous composer that was written for a musician that didn't necessarily have the best technique, but had an incredible tone? And the song does exist, and so does the composer. It is the Violin Concerto, the only violin concerto by Beethoven. He had a friend that was good at violin, but not a virtuoso, no Paganini. But he had great tone. And the very beginning of that, it's when the violin comes in. The first movement is super long. I think it's 17 minutes. The violinist comes in with this single, and you have this beautiful tone. And throughout, it's not a high level virtuoso concerto, but to play it, you have to have beautiful and confident and lovely tone, which, by the time you should be able to do that. And anyway, so if you listen to the Beethoven Violin Concerto, there's only one, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. It sounds like a little symphony, and the violin comes in, so it was like sort of an afterthought. It wasn't. Anyway,